Hi everybody, it's Julie Ebersol for ellenhutson.com, and today I'm going to be doing a little bit of a long video, especially for me. I usually do shorter videos, but I wanted to do this message in a bottle featuring the Alexandra Renke coral dye and this embossing folder called Snowfall. I just thought they were so beautiful, and I had this idea the minute I saw the coral dye. So to start with, I'm going to take a quarter sheet of Canson watercolor paper, and I'm using my Kudetake Gansai Tambi watercolors to create this beautiful mesh of colors in oranges and reds and pinks here on this panel. And I had to reach a point where I said, okay, that's enough. Stop. Leave it alone, because you want to have some white space, and then you want to have some soft color and dark color to get the end result. So I'm going to set that aside to dry, and then I'm going to go ahead and emboss a quarter sheet of Neenah Solar White 80-pound cardstock with my Gemini Junior, and I've got this beautiful Snowfall embossing folder. And the great thing about this embossing folder is that it's 6 by 6, so you can go vertical or horizontal, and I love the detail on this. In my case, for this project, I wanted it to look like bubbles, like from the ocean, coming up from the bottom of the ocean. So that's what I was going for with this. And I can't wait to use this in the winter for holiday cards. But anyway, to make my sandwich to go through the Gemini Junior, I just need the 2 cutting pads, and then I'm going to have my paper sandwiched inside my folder, of course. And then I ended up discovering that I needed a cardstock shim. So I just wrote on there with a Sharpie that this is what this is, that's what it's for. I toss it in the drawer where I keep all my die cutting accessories, and that way it's there whenever I need it. And I put that right on top of the embossing folder, and then I put the other cutting pad on top, and I'm going to go ahead and send that through the Gemini. And I love this die cutting machine. I got it a couple months ago, and to me it is just the greatest thing ever. It just saves my arms so much. So I wanted you to see how pretty that looks on the embossing on that Neenah cardstock. I'm going to set that aside while I do some die cutting. And I've got my cutting pad sitting here while I plan out the pieces I'm going to cut. And I've got the bottles of bubbly. I just thought this was so perfect. I had this idea and I was like, oh my God, I can't wait to make this. I've got a piece of self-adhesive cork sheet paper. It's just a little scrap there, and I've got the cork from the bottle die sitting on that. And then I've got a quarter sheet of Essentials by Ellen vellum, and I love the cardstock weight of this vellum. And of course, I'm strategically planning everything out so that I can actually get 2 bottles die cut out of that one piece. So doesn't everybody else do that, where they sit there and they're like, okay, how many pieces can I get out of this piece of cardstock, right? So now I'm going to go ahead and send that through the Gemini, and as you can see, I got a beautiful clean cut through the vellum, and I'm just going to go ahead and remove these and toss them in a bowl while I work on the rest of the card. So now I've gotten a base A2 size card. This is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 inches. Again, I'm working with Neenah Solar White 80-pound, and I'm going to take that layer there that I embossed previously and mount that to the card front. And I'm just going to use some dry tape runner. This one's by Thermoweb. I love this thing because it's so tiny and compact and lightweight. It's like my favorite little adhesive tape runner. I'm going to go ahead and get that mounted to the front of my card, burnish it on the back, so in case I got anything on my fingers, I don't ruin the front of the card. And then I wanted to mention, I'm going to die cut through this watercolor panel that I made, and it's all dry now. But sometimes as it dries, it gets all warped. So I'm going to sandwich it in between some typing paper and then just send it through my Gemini. You can do this twice if you want to, just to make sure that it's going to be nice and flat. But this is a great way to flatten your cardstock. I didn't really need to do it for this project, but it's kind of nice because now it's nice and flat depending on what I want to use the remainder for. So here's that gorgeous coral dye I was talking about, and I kept it together. I decided not to separate it by the tines and snip those apart. I'm just going to keep it all together and find a spot on this watercolor panel where I think it will look pretty, and go ahead and layer all my layers there that I need to go through the Gemini. And for die cutting, you just need the cutting pad, your paper, your die, the magnetic shim, and then there's a plastic shim, and then the other cutting pad. And here I just wanted to show you a detailed close-up there of how the blades just cut through perfectly. I've got a nice clean cut, and it's important that your watercolor paper be dry, or whatever you're cutting, that it's dry to get a really nice clean cut. So I'm going to go ahead. I saw that the blades went all the way through. I didn't have to send it through a second time. It was perfect the first time, and I just wanted to show you just how gorgeous this die is and how pretty it looks. This is a technique I've seen many of the Alexandra Renke designers use, and I just think it's stunning. And all I could think of when I saw this was like, I got to try that. I got to do that because I love it so much. It's so pretty. So now I've got my card here. I'm going to take my vellum bottle and put a mini glue dot on the back. I love these mini glue dots because they come on sheets, and then you can put them where you need on the back of your project and then kind of plan your layout. And then when you're ready to mount it, you just go ahead and peel away the little liner. And so these glue dots are like, I buy boxes and boxes of these things because I just love having the glue dot on a sheet like that, individual instead of on a roll. And once I've got that in place, I'm going to go ahead. I didn't mount the top of my vellum bottle because I had a plan here in mind, and it's not quite going the way I thought it would. So I'll explain that in a minute. But I'm going to take the cork here and peel away the backing, and that's going to get layered underneath the top of my bottle. But as you can see, my bottle is still not mounted completely at the top. So I got to figure out what I'm going to do with that. So I decided, oh man, when you see me tapping my finger, it's because, I've hit a roadblock and I got to find a way around this. Do you guys tap your fingers when you're thinking? Because I'm actually thinking and talking out loud. There's nobody here but me, but I do think and talk out loud as if somebody were talking to nobody. So I'm going to go ahead and use the Zig two-way glue pen to put some adhesive on the back of these watercolor coral pieces and position them exactly where I want. And I like using the Zig two-way glue because it dries pretty fast. It goes on blue, but it dries clear. And I didn't coat the whole back side of those. I left the top ends kind of free so I could pop them up later on, and I'm just kind of testing that. But to glue those down, I'm going to weight them with some clear acrylic blocks and set that aside and give it some time to dry. And the weight of those blocks will help keep it firmly pressed against the vellum there. So now I'm going to take my greeting. Originally, I had stamped it and planned to roll it up and create kind of this rolled message in a bottle effect. But I could see after I got the coral on there, things were really not going to go according to my plan. So after some thought, I was like, aha, what if I do this? So I took that sentiment and I stamped it in a black ink instead of gray ink this time onto some just plain old typing paper. It's lightweight, and I used the black ink because I knew I was going to put it behind the vellum, and I wanted the recipient to be able to determine what it says, so it wasn't so foggy there that they couldn't figure out what it said. So my bottle looks kind of like a frosted glass bottle. I love using the vellum for that effect. I just put some tape runner on the back, and then I'm just going to press that into place. And remember, the top of my bottle is still free. I'm still not sure what I was going to do. And then it dawned on me, well, of course, I'm going to get my favorite twine and pierce some holes right through the front of my card here around the neck of the vellum bottle. And then I can go ahead and take that thread I love using so much. It's a burlap, and I see it's on the retiring list over at ellenhutson.com. So you may want to get yourself some. I would be lost without this twine. I buy it by the spool, and I buy several spools because I never want to be without this twine. I love it so much. It just goes with everything. Now I'm going to use a dental floss threader that I picked up in the toothpaste dental care aisle at the pharmacy, and it's great for pulling twine and string and cord through little teeny tiny holes, because a lot of times that stuff is like, it's impossible to get that through a tiny hole. So those dental floss threaders are awesome. So once I've got that through the holes, I can go ahead and use my crosslock tweezers there by EK Success to just clamp that down and get a nice tight bow. And I love how this is turning out. I was just so happy you would not believe there was squealing going on in here. So now I'm going to trim that off. And I got to this point where I was like, I want to put this inside the card. And I don't normally stamp inside my cards, but I was just having so much fun with this idea that I was like, I got to take it all the way. So I'm going to go ahead and mount this inside my MISTI. This is the original, and the great thing about it is that it can accommodate my finished card here, and I can still keep it flat, open and flat, and I'm going to mount a sentiment that says, "Stay salty, my friend." That's from a stamp set that we released a couple years ago called Stay Salty. It's one of my all-time favorites because it's nautical themed, and I grabbed some of the ocean waves and the little splash images from there, got those mounted around the sentiment, and I'm going to ink those up with some Aquatini by Catherine Pooler. And then just for some added effect here on the inside, I'm going to take a Prismacolor pencil and just shade those waves very quickly to kind of deepen the color and give them just a little bit more interest. And then the card is finished. I thought this turned out fantastic, even though it didn't quite go according to my original plan. I hope you enjoyed it. All the products are available at ellenhutson.com. And if you'd like to see more of our papercraft videos, please click on the photos below or subscribe to our channel. Thanks for watching.